So these weekly current affairs will have the following articles. We have taken two important articles from multiple newspaper sources: Business Standard, PIB, Business Line, Economic Times, Mint, and Financial Express. These are the six sources from which I have curated notes only and solely for the competitive examinations, specifically targeting towards the UPSC. Now, if you are one of the student who is going to write the mains examination this year, these are the possible topics where you can have a proper understanding with prelims and mains practice questions. So today I'll be giving you questions for both these topics, in fact for these topics as well, to practice. So the mains topics are Iran Israel conflict and its impact on the Indian economy. So we all know that Iran and Israel are under fight, they are under war. US has also entered the war. Rare earth elements, China has put an embargo on its exports. And what are the supply shocks that are associated with this? For the prelims topics, so many of you would be preparing for the prelims, or even if you are preparing for the state PCS, these topics are going to help you out. So there is an article with respect to the reverse flipping and the latest data on the core industries, or ICI, that is Index of Core Industry. So without wasting any time, let's start with the first article. Now the first article is on Israel Iran war and its impact on India. Now, West Asia conflict cast cloud over Indian stocks, Mint. The second article we have taken, oil has a cushion if crude oil cools, Mint. The next one is how will Israel-Iran conflict impact India, and the last one is analyst sees oil shooting up to 150, right, barrel dollar 150 dollar per barrel if the war continues, and this article is as per the Business Standard. So instead of covering every article every day, what I have done is that I have combined all these articles for you in a concise manner: pros, cons, benefits, limitations, impact in each and every segment of the Indian economy in a single discussion. Without wasting any time, let's start our first topic on Iran-Israel conflict. Now, from this perspective, it is important that this article or this war or the discussion that we are going to do is with respect to the international trade. Now, 2020, UPSC asked a question on West Texas Intermediate. This question is related to the oil. The next question is associated with India's exports, India's PLI. So basically, both these prelim questions are associated with the BOP context. Then let's start, given this understanding, with what is the concept or what is the context, why this thing was in the news. Now, Israel has put a sudden attack on Iran nuclear installations. Meanwhile, they also assassinated their top military generals. They have also bombed several cities across the country. On the other hand, Iran has replied with the use of ballistic missile on Israel, and by the way, these missiles have actually attacked Israel despite their Iron Dome. Impact. The reason is why they are attacking each other. Well, the Israel attacking Iran is not something new. It was already planned years back. And US was one of the country which always backed this. And this is one of the reasons why USA has also invited Asim Munir, because they are looking for Pakistan help to attack Iran from the east. Israel and Western countries are apprehensive that Iran may develop a nuclear weapon because they already have enriched uranium. Now, this is the context of the article, but it has nothing to do with the economy section. But we are learning the economy. This is international relations, but we will look into the economic impact on India. So what is the basic impact of this particular event on India? So we will look into the impact on India from its bilateral relations, people to people interactions, diaspora, international trade, bilateral trade, remittance, everything. I mean, we will be looking across each and every dimension. Diaspora. Now, India has a lot of diaspora, not comparable to UAE or USA or UK, but still 10,000 students and professionals. Most of these professionals are working in the construction sector in Iran. Many of them have been brought back through the government initiative under Operation Noob. 25,000 students and professionals are living in Israel. So overall, you could say ki, हाँ, there are around 35,000 Indians living in these two countries. So both of them will be evacuated. China has also started that process. Now, as these people will be evacuated, the one thing which we will notice is the impact on remittance, which was coming from here. I mean, obviously, 35,000 people, even half of them are the workers or the professionals, they were sending a lot of money to India. So there will be a reduction, slight reduction, but yes, of course, it will be. West Asia overall provides 40% of India's remittances. Previously, it was larger. Now it has declined, and it has been overtaken by Australia, US, and Europe. The Indians living in these areas have overtaken and constitute more than these West Asian countries. The reason behind that was actually the labor laws in the West Asian countries are not up to the human standards or based on the human rights. Khalafa system, for instance, does not provide a proper freedom to the Indian workers who are going to the West Asia. Now, given this understanding, 40% of the remittances actually come from this area out of the total 118 billion. So 118 billion is the remittance that India received in the 24 financial year as per RBI. So RBI data hai, it's 100% accurate. So the first impact will be on the remittances. Second, transportation and communication. Now, airspace has been closed down. Although India has good relations with Iran, so Iran has provided exemption to India, which shows a good friendly relations with India and Israel, India and Iran, for instance. And because of that opening of the space for the special conditions, India can easily evacuate its citizens. However, the overall commercial flights are now being closed down. Now, when flights are being closed down, what will happen? Pakistan route is already closed down for India, right? It will impact the cost of flights. Air India, Indigo, all these flights which are going from India to abroad, or in fact, if even if we have flights which are from the international companies, Emirates, Etihad, even these flights will be now charging more money. So increase the cost. This is the impact. Then impact on India's aspiration to connect to Central Asia. Now, Iran is an important middle route for India to connect to Central Asia or going to the Eastern Europe. These are the well untapped market for Indian goods and services. And through Iran, via Afghanistan and via Caspian Sea, India wants to have a good connectivity to these countries. Let's understand how. The first is it will have issues over Chabar port. Now, as Iran is under a war, India's connection with Chabar port will be under danger. First impact. Second, connectivity to the Afghanistan will be impacted. How? Because the land route going to Afghanistan are just two. Either going via Chabar port and then connecting to an highway, Garland Highway of Afghanistan, or going via Pakistan. So Pakistan is already closed down. Then trade with UAE will be impacted because of the Strait of Hormuz, and people to people exchange will be impacted, which is also because a lot of people travel from the Strait of Hormuz day in day out from India to the West Asia, entire Persian Gulf. Now let's understand this through a map. Under this map you can see this coastal area of India, this entire western coast has a huge amount of trading relationships, huge amount of trade relationships to West Asia. There are two routes for that. The first one is which goes from Strait of Hormuz, because here we have Strait of Hormuz. Strait of Hormuz. Secondly, the second area or the second route goes from this particular area from the Gulf of Aden via Red Sea to Europe. Now, this second one, the blue shaded one, is already under stress for the past 2 years. Why? Because of the rebels. How the rebels? Now, how the rebels have been attacking the ships in this particular region? So there has been trade disruption. As a reason for this, many ships have been going all the way across the African continent, which has increased the cost of production. Now, coming to this, because this Iran is under stress. Previously, if India was trading, so India was trading with these countries: UAE, Oman, Kuwait, Bahrain, Iran, Iraq, Saudi via Persian Gulf and Strait of Hormuz. Now, if Iran is under war, this Persian Gulf, especially the Strait of Hormuz, where Iran has a very high monopoly and power projection, will be under stress. Now, as this is under stress, so here we have Chabar port. India trade with Chabar port, and through Chabar port, India trade with Central Asia and India trade with Eastern Europe. So these two trading routes are now virtually closed. And India's aspiration to have this trade route to reach Central Asia and Eastern Europe will be now delayed. And this delay will now impact the overall export potential. And this is the time when China may take the advantage of this. That means China has already built BRI, Belt and Road Initiative, and under this, China will take the advantage because India's potential in this particular region is already low. Moving ahead, right? Bilateral trade. So, what will be the impact on bilateral trade? Bad and good both. See, bad is that India Iran trade has already declined from 14 billion in 2017 to 1.4 billion now. Reason? US sanctions. So US has put a lot of sanctions on Iran. Countries across the world have not been in a position to buy Iranian oil. Hence, India also followed the path of diversification. Diversification basically means that India has now been in a mood to diversify its portfolio. India is now purchasing more oil from other countries rather than just West Asia or Iran. That's why this share has declined. So India does not have much to lose. It's just 1.4 billion. Good, India's rice exports to Iran has increased twice in the last few years. It has just doubled in the last 2 years. So overall, we can say trade has declined, but yeah, good news is that we have been exporting more of agricultural goods. Bad about Israel. India-Israel trade has gone down by 11 billion to just 3.75 billion now. The reason is that India is now shifting focus more towards the capital goods rather than finished goods, guys. So please understand that it's not a bad news overall. Huh. Quantity wise, it has declined, but overall, it's okay. It's completely okay to have such kind of a status. Now, given this, India's defense imports from Israel has increased, obviously, because India is surrounded by two beloved enemies, China and Pakistan. So our defense imports from Israel has increased. So basically, India is importing those items from these countries which are essential and cannot be produced in India. Otherwise, India is reducing the trade. Overall trade of India has increased. Threats on overall trade. West Asia. Out of the total trade with West Asia, which is 170 billion, the highest comes from UAE. And India UAE are very peaceful in terms of their relationships, in terms of diaspora, in terms of bilateral relations. So overall from the West Asia, India is not under threat. Iran, the share is literally very low. It's not even 1% of the total trade with West Asia. So not a threat. 40 to 50% of India's energy needs actually passes from Strait of Hormuz. This is the real threat, guys. 50% of our energy needs. If tomorrow Iran's closed down that, or the Strait of Hormuz is under stress, yes, India has a good relations with Iran, but of course it will impact. There will be a pressure on the international oil prices. Brent oil has already increased. Shipping cost, security cost, insurance cost, everything would rise, which means the exports will not be competitive anymore for coming days. Since Israel attacks, Israel attacks, Brent crude oil price has increased by 12% in the last 9 days. So in the last 9 days only, the Brent crude oil prices has increased by 12%. And if the war continues, experts say that it may cross $150 per barrel. Now, what is Brent crude oil? They have already asked on Western Intermediate. They can ask on Brent crude oil. Brent crude oil is the oil which is being procured from North Sea. Now, North Sea, of course, it's the location. So, from a place known as North Sea, this oil is being procured. It shows the benchmark price, that this should be the ideal price. Otherwise, finding a common ideal price about a crude oil is really tough. So that's why they have created a benchmark for oil pricing in the international market. Now, this is based on the mix of different oils coming from north. Why it is preferred? Why Brent oil is preferred? Because it has low sulfur, it has low density. As it has low sulfur and low density, it is ideally good for easy refinery. Easy refinery means the cost of refinery is low. The waste product is also low. It has less sulfur, less polluting while refinery process. That's why it is used for your petrol and diesel extraction a lot. And as you can easily understand, if this crude oil price increase, there will be a quantum jump in the prices of oil across the world. India, which imports 80% of its oil, is going to be impacted. Is there any immediate concern for India? That's the biggest question. Is India has an immediate issue? The answer is no. The answer is no. But the question is why? Why we don't have immediate? I mean, in the next 1.5 months, why don't we have issue? The reason is this: India has a cushion to fight back for the next few months. Only few months, not for long. That is not for next 1 or 2 years. If the war continues like Russia, Ukraine, it will have a long-term impact. High GST. India has recently, in the last quarter, that is March, April, and May, in April, May, and June, in this quarter, India has registered a very good amount of GST collection, very high. So India has a buffer. India has a surplus of revenue. Domestic demand is high, so India should not worry about it. Even if the oil prices may increase by 2 or 3 rupees per liter, domestic demand is high, it is not going to impact much. Inflation is 5-year low. So since 2009, this is the lowest inflation India has registered as per RBI. This is CPI, 2.82%. RBI's range is 2 to 4%, or 2 to 6%. That is 4 plus minus 2, according to the Monetary Policy Committee. So this is literally very low. Monetary policy is using the expansionary instance. They have already reduced the policy benchmark raised by 50 basis points, which has reduced down now to 5.5. Which means even RBI is positive with respect to the Indian economy, and they want that Indian economies should expand. GDP, fastest growth in the top economies. The latest data budget also announced that India registered a 6.5% of GDP growth rate in 24 financial year. This has proved something. This has proved something that India is as of now resilient on the basis of its robust demand and robust economic growth and a buffer of GST. But can India survive for long? That's the biggest question. Is there a long-term concern for India? The answer is yes. This time it is yes. Why? For this, India, as of now, there's a high cost of production. Impact of oil supply shocks. Right now, we are not facing any oil supply shocks. The oil supply is regularly coming up from Iran and other countries, especially from the Persian Gulf. But if it does not stop, if the oil prices goes beyond $120 per barrel, there will be high cost of production. It will lead to what? Cost push inflation, supply side inflation. The cost of production will increase. I mean, petrol, diesel is used in the transportation of every basic good in India. It will increase, and as it will increase, it will also increase the inflationary pressure in the cost of production. Inflation tax. When things become expensive, it feels like you are paying a tax. Why? Because your disposable income declines. It feels like tax. That is inflation tax. Current account deficit would rise. India's export bills declines and import bill will expand. So import will take over exports because India already imports 80% of its oil demand. Recently, our Transport Minister Nitin Gadkari said, and other ministers have also retreated that Ashwani Vaishnav has also retreated that India has achieved 20% of mixing of the oil. Biofuels have been now, ethanol and other blending has been done. But still, guys, 80% is very high. Slightest increase would put pressure on India. Export case. Cost of production rises. petroleum products that India exports. Do you know the share of petroleum products? The share of petroleum products in total import export is 19%. So if India exports something of 100 rupees, 19 rupees is petroleum product, which is one of the highest share in India's exports. If the crude oil is expensive, so will be the exports of petroleum products. So companies like Reliance Industries, BP, Bharat Petroleum, Indian Oil Corporation, they will be impacted. And lastly, capital market. Capital market has already started showing the bearish instance. So far in the last 1 month, it has improved a lot. But despite that, now they may show bearish, that is declining sentiments in the coming times. That will impact a lot of funds being invested in the capital market, especially Bombay Stock Exchange. Does India have any way forward for this? What should India do? How to fight this kind of instance? The simple reason and understanding is straightforward. This. Multiple solutions are there. So if this question arises in your mains examination, this is what you should write. Number one, reduce over dependence on oil exporting countries, which means diversify. Why 50% of the oil is coming from West Asia? It should be reduced because West Asia is always under some kind of a geopolitical tension. Increase imports from Russia, US, Latin America, which is Venezuela, Africa. Expand, utilize India's strategic petroleum reserve. Strategic petroleum reserves are those where extra oil are being stored in the stone caverns so that it can be used in case of emergency. Whenever there is a supply shocks, that oil reserves can be used. India has 5.33 million metric ton. USA has 97. Now compare USA 97 with India's 5.33. It's really very low. Coordinate with International Energy Association or Energy Association and with allied countries for better coordinations, emergency release during the crisis. So India can have a bilateral agreement, let's say with any country like Venezuela, Brunei and others. In that case, if India has a deficit, they would come up and supply at a particular price. Predetermined price could be there. Invest in domestic oil exploration. Now, India, recent news is that India has already started exploring, and there is a good news for India as well that Andaman Sea may have a huge reserves of oil for India. But that will take time, maybe around 7-8 years to come into the reality. Promote marginal field development and reduce bureaucratic hurdles. Now, this is something that government have been doing because of the ease of doing business. Government has been doing. Accelerate shift to renewable energy. India is aspiring a lot of energy coming from the solar power, wind power, small hydropower, renewable. Electric vehicles. National mission has been launched on electric vehicles. Fuel efficiency norms have been revised. Our vehicles are already at the standards which are at par with the European standards. So Bharat Stage 6 is the new norm for the Indian vehicles, which are very high, or actually highest right now. Awareness campaigns on the energy conservation. Promote people to use carpooling, public transportations like metro. Maintain adequate foreign exchange reserve. India has already crossed $700 billion. Crossed. It has again, actually, it has come down because of that rupee dollar uncertainty, and because RBI has a duty to maintain the foreign exchange, this has come down from the $700 billion. Giving exemptions on tax. Central government, state government, if there is a huge pressure, let's say the petrol prices will about to increase by 10 rupees. In that case, state and the central government, because together it makes more than the 50% price of the petrol and diesel, so they can come to help. And lastly, bilateral oil contracts with oil surplus countries. These kind of agreements will help in the creation of a long-term buffer for India to fight against the oil supply shocks. Now, given this understanding, let's see. These are the prelim questions for your practice. So you can pause the video right now, read the question and answer in the chat box. Similarly, here is another question. Read it and answer us in the chat box. Not only the prelim questions, as this topic is largely for the mains examination, I have given you this practice question. The content is already given in the discussion. Discuss the supply shock issues faced by India's external sector in the recent times. What needs to be done to avoid such problems in future? So practice this question. It's totally your choice whether you take it in 150 or 250 words. Given this understanding, let's now move to the second important topic for this week. The second important topic is with respect to the rare earth elements, REE. Now, recently, China has put a lot of limitations in its export of rare earth element because of the China-US trade war. But does this move of China puts a pressure on the Indian economy? What will happen to the Indian economy if such kind of initiatives are taken by China? Or is this the first time? China has done the same in 2010 with respect to Japan. And when this happened, Japan actually started purchasing a lot of rare earth element from India. But is India ready to supplement its all the needs of rare earth element? Let's understand. So there are articles which we have taken from the Mint. We have taken the articles which have been published from The Hindu, Business Standard, and again The Hindu. So over an entire week, we have taken a lot of articles, we have clubbed them together and created a curated and accurate material for you. Context. What does article says? China. Because of the US-China trade deal, so Donald Trump has created havoc everywhere. This is not a wonder. And he has done the same with China as well. The moment he came to the power, he imposed a lot of tariffs on China, sometimes even unwanted tariffs from China on China, and that has created trade disruptions. As a result, they have restricted 7 heavy rare earth elements, not all of them, but 7, which cannot be exported out of China. So China says it can only be used within China until unless specific authorization is obtained. So if India wants, India should go with one-to-one interactions. We should not be worried because our external affair ministry, our heavy industries ministry, and other respective ministries are already in talks with China, and we are very positive to have a good result in the near future. So China may provide some exemptions to India on the import of such rare earth element. But is China's dependence 100% for India? Is India already diverse in terms of rare earth? Let's understand. India imports rare earth element mostly, right? Dysprosium, gadolinium, ruthenium, and samarium in very small quantity. So India is not a major import from China. India does not import a lot. That 99% of India's rare earth is coming from China. So we are not that worried as of now. Secondly, it has a low impact on India. Why? India already has a low or infancy in terms of using these rare earth element for the industrial development. So guys, India, first of all, does not import much from China. And even if India imports a little bit quantity from China, India does not have a capacity for such heavy industries which can use rare earth element to a larger extent. That's the reason India is not that much worried. But for future, it can be a concern. So let's understand the rare earth in this term. What are rare earth element? Basically, they are not rare. Rare here does not mean that they are lesser in numbers. Rare here means their extraction, their mining is either expensive, environmentally hazardous, or very rare. They are group of 17 metals in the middle periodic table. You may have gone through the periodic table in your 10th class, 9th or 10th class, same periodic table. They are just in the between 17 metals. They have magnetic, light emitting, conductive properties that are added to many alloys to make them more useful. Why they are called rare? The reason, their name suggests they are fairly abundant. So don't worry, we should not be worried about their abundance. They are very, very abundant across the world. India also has a huge reserve. Not the top, but India has a very huge reserve. The problem is that they are spread out. It's not like we have coal reserves. So most of the coal reserves are found in East India. But these rare earth metals, they are very sparsely no, located. Some in one state, some in other state, and within the state, some parts in the northern part, east, and they're very, very sparsely distributed. Third, right? Deposits are not dense. Wherever they are located, they are not dense. So extracting, it's like extracting a small amount from a very large amount of unwanted material. Secondly, extracting a usable quantity needs a lot of energy, so they are not environmentally friendly. Then, is this risky? Is them using risky? Answer is yes. Why? First of all, they are very expensive, right? Very expensive. I mean, taking out a small section of a rare earth element from, let's say, 50 tons of material, 50 tons of sand, only this much, 1 kg. It is expensive. It is hazardous. It has radioactive uranium, thorium. They are usually found in that rare earth element. So, which are environmentally and humanly is also very unsafe. But how China has a monopoly? China presently provides over 90% of rare earth to the world. How China has created the monopoly? They have cheaper production, relaxed environmental rules. It is environmentally hazardous. They don't care. Build, move to build expertise in the sectors. So they have been using this since 1980s, and they are contributing. They are covering the 40% of the world's manufacturing. So it's not a big deal for them. They have a processing and refinement units as well. They have a huge refineries for that. There is not even a single proper refinery in India. Not even a single proper refinery. They have huge numbers. That's why they are controlling the world supply. What are rare earth material used for? Now, before this is very limited one, let me give you the entire list. Now, this is the list. You can pause the video and you can go through the list. Let's see what they are used for. Alloys, aerospace, X-ray, baseball bats, lights, semiconductors. So India is aspiring for semiconductor industry. Can India thrive in the semiconductor industry without rare earth? The answer is no. We cannot take a risk, or we cannot proceed further. Then ceramics, alloys, batteries, TV, superconductors, semiconductors, superconductors, batteries, all our e-rickshaws, optical glass, camera lens, petroleum refineries, water purifier, shielding, alloys, catalyst, magnets, laser, even weapons, defense. I mean, the list is endless. The one thing which I have mentioned here, as you can see, this is neodymium, right? Neodymium. This is where India is also producing. That's why I have highlighted this in the red color. So UPSC can ask this, or any state PCS can ask this in the prelim examination, that which metal is being, which rare earth is largely produced by India. India produce some others here and there, but this is the largest production in India. India is not the largest producer, but in India, out of all the rare earth material, this is highly produced. What it is used for? It is used for magnets, laser, infrared filters, and hard disk drives. So the memory drives that we have, hard disk drive. And who is the biggest user of this? Indian defense industries. We'll come across that, but this list is endless. These are the other materials. You can pause the video and you can go through the entire list. The question can be framed out of any one of these. But more or less, please remember, the biggest use of these rare earth elements are in the defense sectors, are in the electric vehicles, and energy sector. And all these three is the area where actually India is aspiring its future. So India cannot take a chance to miss this train. Let's see the global production. These kind of questions are frequently asked in the prelims examination of UPSC. Top countries rare earth metals are located. So these are reserves. These are the reserves. China has the largest reserve. India is at just 6.9, which is like 15% of China's reserve. Now, India is saying it has 6.9. It may have more. We have not conducted a frequent geological survey for that. India may have more. It may be 10, it may be 15. Brazil is at 21. US is very less. But please remember, production. Look at the production. India is nowhere in terms. China is producing 22,70,000 metric ton. India is having 15% of reserve, but not even producing 15% of its supply. Now, India, as per this, should have been producing around 40,000. But how much India is producing? This is like close to 1.5%. So that's why India has a reserve, but India does not have a capacity to produce and to refine. Why China matters? China matters because rare earths are found in many countries. Practically all heavy REEs are used all over the world, but are refined in China. So even India send many of its rare earth elements to China for refinement. We don't have capacity. It's like when India got independence. We never had oil refineries in India. Some in Northeast Digboy type. Otherwise, we never had a huge infrastructure for refinery. Now we are shifting towards that. What other nations are doing? Vietnam, they begin their domestic refinery already. Recently shut down, but okay, it is working because of the environmental concern. Japan built a long-term buffer. Now Japan knew this because Japan has been a victim in 2010. So Japan has already created a huge buffer for its future. So even if there is a supply shock, Japan has a buffer for that. Issue with such REs in India. Why India is facing such issues? Total import, which is close to what India is producing. The more of REEs India is coming from US and Europe. That's why I told you India does not have supply shock from China. These are the major suppliers. That's why India is also trying to have a deal or a trade deal with this US and Europe. Rare earth mining is only restricted to one company in India, that is IREL. And please understand, guys, this is public sector undertaking. This is a government, this is a public company. It's a government company. Only this company is producing and refining rare earth in India. It only supplies to India's atomic energy department. So government is extracting, government is supplying, and government is demanding for nuclear power projects and defense related applications, as I told you before. India lack wide scale technology and infrastructure to mine and refine. Only two extraction plants are there, one in Odisha and one in Kerala. Very important for you. So there are only two extraction plants, one in Odisha and one in Kerala. Otherwise, we don't have that. So, given this understanding, what India has done, what has been done in India, because of course, future holds with rare earth, we must be extracting them. RIEL is mining monazite in Kerala beaches. It would double its output by 2030. This is the first initiative. So let's double that. Okay. India has also banned its export to Japan after 13 years. So India started in 2011-12. Now it has banned because of the supply shock. So India will use it for itself. China banned, India also banned. Jindal, Vedanta and other private companies have now pledged around 3,000 crore rupees. So this is going to bring private participation. Private participation has been brought. India is likely to get a trade exemptions from China. The talks are going on. Government intend to modify the Mines and Minerals Act to relax some certain exemptions, environmental clearances and many other things. India is looking at 3,500 to 5,000 crores of scheme to promote their production. Now, what is this scheme? So please pay attention. This scheme is very important. This scheme is National Critical Mineral Mission, NCMM. Could be asked in the prelims, could be asked in the mains, could be asked in the state PCS examination. So let's understand what this scheme is all about. This scheme started this year only, so it's new. Objective Robust framework for self-reliance. The scheme is targeting to bring self-reliance. Now, India is producing 2,900 metric ton, importing 2,300 metric ton. So whatever we are importing, we should not. So India as of now should produce around 5,000 to 6,000 metric ton of total rare earth element. That is what India is doing and India must be doing. So it has said to the Geological Survey of India that please sir go and conduct exploration and find out, do we have more of such elements or not, and if we have, where do we have. So 1,200 exploration projects are going to be undertaken for that extraction. Authority. 24 such minerals will be part of Part D of the Schedule of Mines and Mineral Development Act. Because of this, when they have included 24 critical minerals under this category, it will give an authority to the government that auction, mining lease and composite license will be completely under central government. So their mining and their license will now completely be under central government. So if a person, a private company, Vedanta and other, if they want to extract, they will go to the central government, they will obtain a license, and then that's how they are going to work for it. Subcomponents of this particular scheme, NCMM. Exploration license will be given. Minerals from the secondary sources like fly ash, which is coming from this coal power plant, or you can say thermal power plant, tailing, red mud, wherever such kind of minerals could be extracted, let's extract. Why to leave them, right? Development of the processing park near the sites so that we don't have to send our raw material to China for the processing. Let's refine them in India only. Lastly, RIEL currently has 6 lakh tons of capacity. It will be enhanced, right? India produces all these minerals and will be expanded further on this regard. So what they will do under this mission? Number one, increase domestic production. If there is a future, if there is a foreign sites, let's say some other country is ready to produce this with India, India will go there and will produce. Recycle of the existing structures. Trade and markets, scientific and technological advancement so that we don't have to send them outside for processing. Skill development and funding and financing. In the future, government may create a new fund to provide money because it's a very expensive task. India should aspire for 10,000 metric ton in the near future, maybe 2030 or 2032. For that, this mission is definitely going to help. These are the practice questions for your prelims. So you can pause the video, you can go through this question and answer, and please do answer that in the chat box. The second one is on my left. Go through this question. Both the questions are associated with your rare earth element. Let's move to a question which is for the mains examination. Rare earth element holds key to the future industrialization in India. Obviously, as you've seen, the industries that it is targeting is huge. Secondly, what are the bottlenecks? So here you have to create a list of all the issues, all the bottlenecks that are there faced by India in this field. So we have already listed down that India does not have a capacity, production is low, mining is low, it is expensive, environmental issues. How these issues could be resolved? So just give the way forward that we have already listed out. Now let's move to the last two prelims related articles. The first article is with respect to the reverse flipping startup IPOs get boost from SEBI. Now this article talks about a concept of reverse flipping, especially with startups. So what is this reverse flipping in startup? This article was published in Business Standard. Context. SEBI has recently announced a lot of measures in which they say that stock market ecosystem will be eased. More companies can now list after reverse flipping to India. Now it's a prelims related concept. It's just a term. Let's understand that. In this particular question, which you can obviously look into, this is UPSC's PYQ. Now, this question is with respect to e-commerce, which means UPSC asks questions related to the stock market terms, questions related to the startups, question related to the e-commerce. So that's why this topic is important, given this question from the prelims. Now let's understand what is, guys, reverse flipping. What is flipping? Before understanding what is reverse flipping, we should understand flipping. Nothing. It's a very simple concept. There is a foreign company which was established in foreign. Does not matter whether the owner is Indian or owner is foreigner. So it means externalized structure refers to the transferring of the entire ownership of an Indian entity to an entity incorporated abroad. Let's say there is a company, and this company was created in, let's say, Singapore. So this is a foreign entity, and as this is a foreign entity, this will be considered to be a foreign to India's economy. Now assume that that foreign company which was created in, let's say, Singapore. Now that company will now be looking forward to India. Now as this company comes and buy a company in India, they have purchased some company in India, they have invested in a startup in India. So that is known as flipping. So now transferring entire ownership of an Indian company. So the foreign company has invested in Indian company. So ownership will be transferred. Now the Indian company will become a foreign company. This is known as flipping. Their assets will be transferred, their intellectual property will be transferred to a foreign entity despite most of their market personal founders in India. So Walmart purchased a startup in India, that is Flipkart. That is flipping. A foreign company has purchased Indian company. Now the share of percentage, sometimes it happens that the entire 100% of Indian company was purchased by the foreign companies. This usually happen in the startups. Why? This happens because there are tax benefits and higher funds from the VCs, venture capitalists in foreign. So Indian companies, they think that why not allow the foreign company, why not sell ourselves to the foreign company? We will find better investors, venture capitalists, better funds, better technology, everything will be provided. So they just flip from India's business to the foreign business. New entity, the new company which is now created is a wholly subsidiary of the foreign operating firm. So Walmart, so Flipkart became a subsidiary of Walmart. Examples, Indian firms shifting base to UAE, Singapore and others. Just because they come under a large company, just because they don't want to pay higher taxes to India, or they find better opportunities outside. Now coming to reverse flipping. In simple terms, it is ghar wapsi, coming back to India, coming home, right? Coming back home. It is internalization, where a foreign entity owned startup shifts its domicile back to India. Foreign company has a startup. It was owned. This company, which was owned by a foreign, is now coming back to India. How? Don't care. Whether they have sold their stakes, they have purchased their stakes, they have found a new investor in India, does not matter. They will enlist. Now why they want to come to India? Why they practice reverse flipping? Why there is a ghar wapsi? Why there is a return back home? To enlist the stock market and to attract Indian VCs. Let's say there are Indian investors who want to invest in that company and say, leave your foreign player, come back to India. They will come back. The new entity wholly owned subsidiary of an Indian startup registered outside India. It was previously registered outside India. Now it will be under the Indian startup. Indian firms shifted base back to India from other nations. Many companies have been doing that, and many companies will do that. So what does the article says? Article says that they will get more benefits in the Indian stock market. So if such companies are coming back to India, they will get more markets in India. Given this understanding, you have this practice question. So please pause the video, read this carefully and solve this question with an answer, and do comment in the chat box. Now we come to the last article. This is also a prelims related article. The article is straightforward. It is with respect to the core sector. The article says, unfortunately, the core sector growth, the 8 core industries, the core sector growth has gone down to 0.7%, which was over 6% last year in the same month. That is the month of May. It is lowest in the last 9 months. We should not be worried because it fluctuates every year. It fluctuates. It goes as high as 8%, 10%, comes down to sometimes negative as well. It keeps on fluctuating depending on the business sentiments. We have taken this article from the business line, from the Hindu. The article says output growth in India's 8 core industry. So core sector here means 8 core industries. Infrastructure industries has gone down to 0.7% in May from upward revision of 1% in the April. So in April it was 1%, it has gone down below that. Okay. Is this a new topic? The answer is no. In 2015, UPSC already asked index of 8 core industries, IECI or ICI. They've already asked a prelim question from this topic. That's why we are repeatedly taking this topic, taking the guidelines from the UPSC's KYQ. Let's understand that. This is the area. Core sector growth was 6.9% May 2024, last year. From 6.9, it went down to 0.2, 0.3. Then again went to +5. Again down, again up, down, and now 0.7%. So it has been fluctuating. It's nothing new, guys. This is the mixed batch. The industries which have proved better performance are coal, steel, and cement. Cement has been the industry which has provided the maximum returns. The worst performer has been fertilizers and electricity. These are the 2 areas which have been worst performer this year or this month actually. Now let's understand this single slide, this single table will help you to prepare your entire topic on index of 8 core industries. Now this index prepares the changes over the base. How does it work? It's very simple. Let's say 2024, all the 8 core industries have produced 100% of output. 8 industries have produced 100% of output. As a result, what happens in May 2025? Now, index shows an improvement over the base. Improvement over the base. Here I am taking the base to be 2024. So improvement here is, let's say, addition of 0.7%. So 100.7. This is the index. Now it has a list of all the industries, and that's how it is prepared. The combination of this entire index is weighted upon multiple industries. Highest weightage, lowest weightage are being given, and that's how it is working. So this single slide will help you in that. What is this? It's an index. That is, it goes for the average of weights. Various weights are being given. For example, highest weight is given to refinery. It is around 28%. Out of the 100% weightage, weightage means priority. So highest priority is given to the refinery, the lowest priority is given to the fertilizer. So even if the fertilizer is poorly performing, that's okay. The weight is very small. In this data, you can see refinery is 0.1%. That's why. So the one which has the highest share is not performing well. If it would have performed like 5%, the overall index would have been performing better. Agency, it is published by Office of Economic Advisor under Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Okay. What is the base year? 2011 and 12. This is the base year. So any changes that takes place on the base of this year. This is the base year. In the example, I use 2024 to be the base year. This is 2011-12 is the base year. Anything changes over the data on this date. Measurement, what it measures? Combined and individual performance. So overall, all core industry, how they have performed, and individual industries have performed in what manner. Then IIP, core industry has 40% of the total weight in the total IIP, which is very high. IIP is Index of Industrial Production. Whenever the new data will come up, we will have a separate discussion on that as well. Now, IIP is the one which shows that this every industry in India, how much they have produced. I mean, I have not included many industries. Core industries are. Automobile industry is not included, right? So see, coal, crude, natural gas, refinery product, fertilizer, steel, cement, and electricity. So automobile industry is not included. Mobile manufacturing industry is not included, and many other industries are not included. That's why these eight together constitute 40% of total industrial output as per IIP, right? Highest weightage to refinery, lowest weightage to the fertilizer. So I think this is the maximum information you would need for the prelim examination. Whatever question they would ask, they will just ask from the same particular data. Now, given this only economics or the Indian economy, so I am Jatin Bhardwaj. I will be taking up a separate course for the economics section, where I will be taking over 50 classes, over 500 prelims question, over 100 mains questions. And in those 50 plus classes, that is 100 plus hours, I will be providing all these things to you. The course will be starting from second week of August. So you can join the combined foundation course or the individual course following the link which is given in the description box. So that's all for this week's economic current affairs. I hope you have enjoyed. For more such updates, keep on watching our channel. Thank you.